Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Kortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. I'm your host, Corson Schmidt. We are thrilled to introduce Simon Liu, a dynamic marketing leader with over 12 years of experience driving transformative growth in banking, automotive, and customer brands. Currently serving as Vice President of Sales and Marketing at AutoLogic, Simon is integrating AI and automation to revolutionize digital sales and customer engagement, leveraging cutting-edge tools like GPT-powered automation and voice AI. A graduate of the University of Toronto with an Honours Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Political Science, he also holds a variety of AI certifications, including Harvard University, equipping him with a unique blend of strategic insights and technical expertise. Simon's career is marked by remarkable achievements, including earning the RBC 2022 Q3 Team Performance Award for delivering a 600% improvement in conversion rate optimization at Royal Bank of Canada. His journey is anything but conventional. From a sales rep to a marketing wizard, Simon brings an accelerated e-commerce perspective honed in Asia, which now shares in the North American market. As the co-founder of Paleo Toronto, he bootstrapped a startup to $1 million in revenue, securing a high-profile clients like NFL and NHL through innovative influencer marketing. Known as the Homeless Wizard in his personal brand, Simon's creative flair and data-driven approach make him standout leader. Get ready for an inspiring conversation with a true innovator in marketing, and welcome Simon Liu.
Wow. Thank you, Corson. What an intro.
No
Thank you
worries.
very much.
No worries. I can't even take the credit for the introduction. You wrote it yourself, so thank
Hey.
you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you. Happy to have this conversation. It's an honor.
I'm happy to have you here, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you. But before we get into it, I just want you to kind of tell the audience a little bit about your background. Like, you have a ton of experience through everything, every business of aspect. But what led you to join the automotive industry?
Yeah. So I've had a pretty diverse journey from e-commerce in Asia, fintech, banking, and even consumer product good. But really, what got me into the automotive industry was how broken the customer experience is. I started off selling cars actually, and most people dread car repairs. That's one thing I realized. And the process is confusing, expensive, and just full of friction. I saw that as an opportunity to bring simplicity, trust, and tech to a space that hadn't really evolved in decades, really. I'm not a gearhead by any means. I'm a problem solver, and the auto industry just has one massive friction when it comes to user experience. And every day, millions of people suffer this, so I'm just here to do my part to make that process smoother.
That's awesome. That's super exciting. And how did you get in contact with AutoLogic to really step your feet into the automotive world? Obviously, you worked at a dealership, but how did you get in contact with AutoLogic to really step your feet into the parts side, I should say?
Yeah, so previously I was at RBC, and I was in charge of the personal bank account, the digital platform experience there. And AutoLogic, being a digital platform, really wanted to increase the conversion as well as improve the digital marketing. So that's how I got connected to the opportunity.
Super cool. That's awesome. So for those who are unfamiliar with AutoLogic, can you explain how your platform connects consumer with parts and more about what you guys do within the company?
Yeah, happy to do that, Corson. The simplest way to explain it is think of Uber Eats, but for auto service. That's kind of what we do. You can also think of it like Shopify or any other popular digital platform, but we want to be the whole customer journey experience where if you have a problem or if you need help with your car, we want to be your go-to solution, your one-stop shop.
For sure.
So we're not a parts warehouse because the auto industry, the parts are actually separate from the labor, the service, and the auto sector. So it's a little antiquated and disconnected sometimes. And we're not just another garage, even though we do have 4 of our own mechanic shops under our own management as well. We sit between the customer and just that whole realm of chaos And our job is to simplify it so it's easy for the user to navigate.
For sure.
AutoLogic's specifically, we offer financing as well. So if you do not want to pay for your repairs or services upfront, sometimes it could get quite expensive. We could get pre-approvals and financing in as fast as 60 seconds because from a digital platform perspective, we want to deliver value and ease of use right away. You book your services online. You can compare different options. There's no surprise billing at all. And behind the scene, we connect the garages, the parts, the customer, everybody together, and we orchestrate that experience so it's seamless for the customer. It feels like as simple as ordering a meal or, paying your phone bill online. And that's how it should be in 2025. It's really like Amazon meets like the trusted local mechanic. And those guys don't do the best job in marketing sometimes, and that's where we're here to help.
No, that's awesome. And can you speak a little bit more about the four shops that you guys have and how it works together with AutoLogic?
Yes, so Mechanique is our shop partners. We have 4 locations, predominantly on the west side of Toronto, and they do everything from mechanical work all the way up to regular maintenance, you name it. And besides that, we also have other mechanic shops that could buy into our network, kind of like Uber Eats as well.
Okay.
And this way it allows us to kind of have have a pulse in the industry as well as understanding what the day-to-day operation is like. Give us the ability to advocate for the users because the number one friction that we find is that in this industry there's low trust. So the user doesn't understand, hey, like, am I getting a fair price, or how does a job like this usually cost, or what's the process? But by having shops under our own management, we understand the full process through and through. And a lot of times what I hear at the office on the floor is really our own teammates advocating for the user, saying, hey, like, that's a little high. That's not how a job's supposed to go. Like, I'm sure you could get my customer back their vehicle sooner than that, because unlike a dealership where sometimes repairs could take weeks, we want to make sure that when you sign up with AutoLogic, when you trust us with your vehicle, we get you back on the road as fast as possible.
For sure. And obviously to get customers back on the road as fast as possible, you need to build some pretty solid teams. So how do you guys approach building high-performance teams? And what qualities do you look for in the shop side of things? And then again, in the marketing side of things as well, because you need to have a solid team that's going to help get the word out there for AutoLogic and connect you with different shops. So what qualities do you look for in team members within the shop and within your marketing team?
Yeah, so we really prize on knowledge, and think of us like as a smart assistant almost, because we understand that typically if you don't have a car guy, most people walk into the repair shop totally blind. Like, they really don't know how much they're going to be paying. And we really want to change that. So your first call is with us. We walk you through the process. We help you understand, hey, like, what your car needs, and you tell us what you're struggling with. Our virtual vehicle advisors tells you that before you step into the shop, what to expect. So therefore, it kind of mitigates the upsell, and that way you have full transparency. We built an internal dashboard that lets you track your repairs, payments, and even vehicle health. So that way there's no surprises, and you understand from a digital perspective where your car sits and where it stands.
That's through the repair process. They can see kind of every part with it when it's in the shop. So say it's in the shop here, remove part here. Is that the dashboard when it's in the shop, or you mean the whole life of the vehicle?
The full life of the vehicle as well as repair as well. We do digital vehicle inspection, so we give you a current snapshot of what your car is, what your current standing is for your vehicle.
Yeah.
But based off of VIN number and your vehicle manufacturing history, we also have the viewpoint of the longevity of the vehicle as well. So therefore, we're giving you proactive advice on how to maintain your vehicle on the road as long as possible. Because, Corson, like, you're in the industry, you understand, like, these engines and transmissions, they're rated to run for 15 years, 25 years. But you really need to take care of them. And if you don't brush your teeth every day, you're going to have cavities. Same thing happens with a vehicle. It's just that most people don't understand that, like, hey, like, when should I go to the dentist again, right? Your dentist will tell you it's every 6 months, but they don't really have the ability to, like, stay with you and connect with you digitally to give you that ability to have preventative maintenance and preventative care. So that way you don't have to, like, go under the knife and get a root canal when you don't need to.
Yeah, no, for sure. And with those technologies that you guys are using, as in the virtual vehicle advisor and the digital dashboard and AI, how do these technologies improve the automotive parts buying and service experience for the customer itself?
Yeah, so AI helps us in a variety of different ways. Number one, it helps us with fraud. So you could really verify the service, the cars, the information, because, in the auto industry, sometimes, OEM is not OEM. And, the last thing you want to happen is you pay for a part and you didn't get it, right? And it gets put inside your vehicle, and who's going to really go and, like, put your car back on a hoist and, dig through the receipts and try to figure out if, what your part that you got on your vehicle is the correct one. It's just not practical. So that's number one thing. AI helps us with fraud and recommending parts, as well as making smarter financial decisions and financial calculations as well. So giving people more personalized offering, personalized rates, because in this day and age, where affordability is a huge issue, we just want to make sure that you could afford to maintain the second largest purchase that you probably gonna make in your life, and not have it completely break your budget, and therefore making sure that your life and your family is uninterrupted.
For sure.
So
That's amazing. And you guys do that through your financial programs as well, on breaking up your payments to help people actually afford vehicle payments. Because, yeah, like you said, it's definitely the number two payment that you have in life, right? Like, you
Yep.
need the vehicle to get to work, to pay your bills, and that's something you need to stay up on maintenance and make sure
Yeah.
your vehicle's going to last you the amount of time it should.
for sure. Recently, I just want to share some quick stats,
Yeah,
Corson.
go right ahead.
In the last 10 years, I think our average salary in Canada has gone up maybe 25%, but the average vehicle cost, the purchasing price, has gone up almost 50%. So to put it in perspective, back in the day, you're a young man, but when I was younger, it was not that uncommon for you to work and then be able to afford a car payment.
Yeah.
But this day and age, the average price of a vehicle and the average annual salary is both $40,000 a year. So
Wow.
it's equivalent of working a full year before tax, mind you,
Yeah.
to be able to afford a car. So just think about the affordability and the pressure that puts on average Canadian these days, especially being in Canada. Having a car, especially if you don't live in Toronto, it's mandatory almost for you to get a job and do anything.
For sure, yeah. I'm from a small town, right? And to get to, and there's not many shops. Like, say if you work at a shop, you'll have shops in town, but if you live outside of town, you're still 10 or 15 minutes to get in town. Or maybe you work at a shop at another town, you're still, at least Toronto, you have you can take trains or buses and bikes to get there. But if you're in a small town, it makes it a lot harder to try to find rides to those jobs, and it can make it really expensive if you did have to take taxis to work every day.
Absolutely.
And it's nice that you guys are coming in with your company, that you can actually break up your payments and slow down paying so much, because repair costs have really increased as well in the past. I want to say 5 years, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down either.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the tariff threat, auto industry is going to get pinched a lot.
Yeah, for sure, with part pricing and everything as well. But back to your background. So your e-commerce perspective was honed in Asia,
Yes.
before you brought it here in North America. What are some of the biggest differences that you've noticed between the two markets, especially in the digital adoption and customer behavior?
Oh, yeah. So first thing is scale, right? So just to give comparison, I think Canada now we're approaching 40 million in population, and America is about 400 million. So we're 1/10 the size of our big brother America. I mean, maybe Big Brother is not a good term to use now these days, but so in Asia, it is astronomically larger, right? So to give you a comparison, like typically in Toronto, let's say, for example, if you have a following of 10,000 to 100,000 followers, you're considered somewhat of an influencer, right? You have some pull in the general population area.
Yeah,
In Asia, you're not even considered to be an influencer unless you reach a million, right? That's just like the scale proportionality there. Also, the speed is just so much faster over there. There's a saying, popular saying that a New York minute is a Hong Kong second. So that gives you a sense of proportionality of how quickly things happen over there. So with higher scale, higher velocity, instant demand, they're not the best at innovating in Asia, but when it comes to bringing ideas to scale, to market, they are by far the fastest.
for sure. And you see that, right? If you look at, I saw that Asia came out with a flying, it was a flying taxi or something that I saw an influencer take it for the first drive or something. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy
I
how
show
fast they're
Speedy.
innovating. Yeah, speed.
Yes, Speed was
Yeah.
in Asia, it blew the internet apart. I saw that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But like even like stuff like that, they seem to be innovating a lot quicker
Mhm.
with every new technology because it like a saying in our area is that Asia's always 10 years ahead of America and they always will be because they seem to be taking advantage of the technology and really implementing it a lot quicker.
Yeah. So the EV thing, the new industry or the avenue that's been carved out is called eVTOL, which stands for electric vertical liftoff and landing, eVTOL.
Okay.
And essentially it's like, air taxi, right? With
Yeah.
drone tech. With us, it's a lot of regulation, unfortunately. And when it comes to like efficiency in Asia, right, most office buildings they have a designated location for drone delivery. So if you want a hot lunch, it just gets flown to you,
That's crazy.
right? But over here, we're still calling pizza, waiting 45 minutes, and if it doesn't come, it better be free. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's the speed is just astronomically different.
for sure, for sure. And how does that working in that type of atmosphere now coming to North America with it a slower pace, does that put does it feel like it's putting you at an advantage on testing different ideas and really implementing different systems?
The speed is a bit of a blessing in disguise, so to speak, because it allows me to have better work-life balance. Honestly, I think the knowledge is what's really interesting because it gives me more foresight. Because any idea that we have here, it's pretty much been tested in Asia, and I understand the friction of, okay, you have this idea, but what's your headache going to be at 10,000 customers versus 100,000 customers to a million customers? So the scalability aspect that's been answered. And I'll just give like the listeners like a very key insight is that and it's very similar to what Gary Vee has been saying is that online auction and shopping will be the new thing because now there's no longer a need to have physical experience. Like eBay just went out, like Hudson Bay just went out of business because you could shop. If you want to shop in a catalog, it's just a lot less friction and stress free to do it online,
For sure.
right? But if you're going to show up to a location, you want to be delighted.
Yeah.
And that experience becomes a digital memento, and that gets scaled out infinitely. So in the future, that's currently what we're at right now.
Hmm.
In the future, what's going to be is digital auction because something about live entertainment, that's what people are looking for in the physical experience. But now you could have that online as well, and it's a lot less friction as well. So that's kind of the direction we're moving into. So that's why the platforms are pushing you to go live. Podcast is great, long format conversation. And moving forward, it's about doing that in a live audience. So think of it like Price is Right. That's going to make a comeback in the digital era.
For sure. No, that's a great point. And Gary Vee is a great guy to listen to. He has a bunch of great insights on the future, and he's a very, very smart entrepreneur himself.
Yes.
As the vice president of sales and marketing, what does a typical day look like for you?
First thing that I do every morning is look at our funnel and look at our conversions and the amount of interest that we got eyeball. So I look at it from a variety of different platforms, Instagram, Meta, Twitter, you name it. And then afterwards, I will take a look at the social interactions and see if there's anything that I need to troubleshoot or hand off to the service team. And then somewhere around like the early morning before noonish will be more of a strategy session, thinking about what campaigns are coming up next, what needs to get done, prioritizing the next roadmap, so that way we get ahead of any potential bottlenecks or troubleshoots.
Sure.
Then after around lunchtime, it's about, kind of slowing down, reflecting on the day so far. And then afternoon is typically meetings with vendors, interacting with new opportunities, exploring new opportunities, and then closing out the day to have everything summarized so I'm better prepared for the next day ahead.
That's awesome. That's you have everything planned out, and that's how you want it, right? You don't want you don't want to miss anything within the day, and you got to make sure you stay on top of things, especially something like marketing, because things can change really quick, and as long as you stay ahead of the market, basically, you're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, there's a quote that I've kind of came up with myself, which is, the famous quote is perfect practice makes perfect, right? And my quote is that you must be proficient in your profession to profit.
That's awesome. You're going to have to put that on a nice plaque or something, hang it up in your room. It's a good quote. You should keep that one. That's a good
Thank you, Carson.
Who's your biggest role model through your journey of your marketing journey so far in your career?
The biggest is hard to attribute. I mean, I started off in entrepreneurship really because of one book and one influencer, which is Tim Ferriss. He's kind of gone off into hiding and become a hermit and sage, which I actually have a lot more respect for because, there's the concept of, don't worship false god or, I'm not your guru, right? Sometimes, especially in the influence and the marketing sphere, once you have a lot of success, it could get into your head and inflate your ego. And then that kind of leads into a path of, unnecessary desires and eventually leads to pain and suffering. That's kind of what I observed. So Tim Ferriss was by far the initial inspiration. His 4-hour work week really helped me understand what meta learning is and how to optimize batch work, find efficiency. Most recently, another resource I'd like to just share, I think he does great work, is Alex Hormozy. And his principle is that, you sell because you don't know how to market, and you market because you don't know how to build a product. So I've kind of in my career chain, unfortunately worked backwards, where I started off in sales, now I'm in marketing, and then the hope and aspiration eventually is to develop a product as well. I've had experience working in consumer product good in a variety of different fields. There's trade-offs in every industry, but Steve Jobs said, right, like, if you have a good product, if you love what you do, then the work will speak for itself to a certain extent. I'm paraphrasing here.
No, for sure. That totally makes sense. As for trends in the automotive aftermarket, we won't say automotive aftermarket, in the automotive parts and supply industries, when it comes to digital transformation, customer expectations, and financial solutions, what are some changes or trends that you've seen recently?
Yeah, so 3 big ones are first, number one is digital first, everything, right? Before people exchange dollar, they will look you up, they will Google you, they will find you. If they can't book online, if they can't have that, if that initial touch point is too much friction, they're just gonna bounce, especially for younger people, right? Like, I have a brother, he has anxiety in calling people, so he doesn't like to do that, right? Like, if you're gonna book online, like if you're gonna make a reservation, no one calls anymore. You're gonna book through open tables. That's number one. Number 2 is flexible financing. One thing with affordability, like we mentioned before, another thing is we're moving towards a one-to-one experience, especially with finance, and I've seen this a lot when I worked at the bank, is that people want to split payments and they don't want it to break their budget and they want to be catered to them, right? Because if you just get any kind of generic package, it's not interesting. It's about customization and moving one-to-one.
For sure.
And the last aspect is just trust at scale. So especially with the boom of AI, there's so much ability to make deep fakes, and there's the amount of digital noise is going to exponentially increase. So how do you build trust, right? And how do you have
Hmm.
trust at scales? Consumers want the speed of tech with the feel of trusted mechanics. So if you don't have that transparency and you don't have trust at scale, then the business is not sustainable.
For sure. Those are three great points. And you spoke on AI within that and kind of the digital tools. How do you stay ahead of the curve of such a fast moving field and the rapid evolution? How do you stay ahead of that?
Number one thing is just curiosity. Um, my personal brand is Home of Sage, so I am identified as a sage archetype. I like to hoard information. That's what that means.
Yeah.
But even for me, it's just like drinking from a fountain, right? Like things are evolving so quickly. So having that curiosity and not being afraid of the new tool is one thing. You have to go in there, try it, get your hands dirty. Especially this day and age, like everything is moving towards a SaaS model online, which is like all free to sign up. If you have an email, you should be able to experience the tool, experience the platform, and from there you could evaluate whether you want to invest more time into it. From a business perspective, you really want to treat AI like a new hire, right? It should be doing real work. Like it
Yeah.
should be enhancing your output instead of, serving it as a distraction. That was social media, right? A lot of times, people just saw it as a distraction, but then when you add commerce to it, now it's all of a sudden a distribution channel. So I
Yeah.
think AI will have that current economic commerce moment if it didn't have it already. It will become more defined in the future as well.
For
And
sure.
it's not just to sound cool, right? Like everybody wants to say, hey, they're involved with AI. But when you work in it, especially when you talk to experts in it, people who actually build the models and they see behind the scene and they peel back the banana, it's really just kind of like a very fancy autocorrect,
Hmm.
right? So don't find it too intimidating. Test new
For sure.
tools weekly. That's what I do. I challenge my team to automate as much as they can, hopefully one new task every single sprint, every single week. And the secret is just stay humble, right? Like I don't know everything, even though I feel like I've just been doing this for a lot longer than most of my peers. And I have just also train your algorithm because it gets tiring for you to go out there and fish for information all the time. But use social media, leverage algorithm. Like if you just keep telling the algorithm you like cat videos, it's gonna give you cat videos, right? And if you tell it, hey, I like AI, I want more AI stuff, it's gonna feed that information to you. So that makes things a little bit easier.
For sure. No, that's a great point. And you even went to Harvard, and you hold some variety of AI certifications. Can you speak a little bit on those certifications and how they've really helped you kind of navigate through this field of AI and really find those programs that do work? And
Yep.
did you go through any coding course? Like, what was implemented in your certifications that you have?
Yeah, so I'm not best coder, I'll openly admit. Although vibe coding is very interesting, I've been experimenting with that. I do think coding as a language will have significant impact, be impacted by the AI industry. When it comes to the Harvard certification that I got, it's really just more of a lecture that teaches you what is a neural network and how does AI make decision, essentially the building blocks. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the most useful when it comes to day-to-day application, but it kind of helped me understand how a car engine functions at the very least, right? Like this is the clutch, this is the engine, that's the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a benefit of learning. I think when it comes to day-to-day benefit for the listener is prompt engineering, which you'll be hearing a lot more of. And that's essentially how you drive the car, right? So what setting do you want to put it in? Do you want to put it in EcoBoost? Do you want to put it in 4x4 for different occasions? And the one like simple format that I give everyone is, and this is what I've observed, and I've seen I've seen the TikTok make fun of stuff like this. That for people apparently over the age of 40, they use AI like it's Google. So you'll see them just prompt questions. How do I do this? What is that, right? Where can I find this? But I think what AI really does a great job at is simulation, right? So in order for you to get it to simulate a scenario for you, you have to feed it proper input, and that's what prompt engineering is. The format that people should consider that's been really helpful for me is Ryzen format, which is role intent. I gotta take a look at it. I have it as my wallpaper. So role instruction, steps, narrowing, and end goal. That's the Ryzen format. If you could formulate your requests in that format, it allows the AI to have way more context. And I'll add one bonus hack, okay? And this is attributed to Sabrina Romanoff, who is a fantastic AI influencer. Her number one hack to get better prompt, better results from AI is before you send in the command or the query, the last sentence you should always put is, ask me clarifying questions until you're 95% confident that you could achieve the goal before you start the task, right? So if you just add that condition in there, because you don't know what you don't know. You're doing your best to collect the input that you feel the AI needs, but by having that last condition in there, you're letting the AI give you suggestions to fill the gap of the information that it needs to execute properly.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually really smart. I would never have thought of that.
Yeah,
And then if it has any questions, you can fill those gaps and really make sure it gets clear on the result that you're looking for.
absolutely.
Super cool. Super cool. What do you see as next for AutoLogic? Are there any kind of innovations or projects that you guys are excited about, or what are the next steps for you guys?
Yeah, so next steps, we have some great projects coming up. We are moving into the process of having a full suite of offering. I'll just kind of preview it here. We are working on launching a membership as well. So the ability to kind of belong to a group and belong to an organization to have your day-to-day needs taken care of instead of, you know, using it as a one-off service. So this gives more predictability and gives the users more access to our resources as a whole.
Okay, super cool. And in that you mean people can buy the subscription and say their car ends up breaking down, they can contact you guys can help them out, get back on the road, or is it more for the parts, or is it the mechanic side, or is it the AutoLogic side?
It will be the full suite of offering. We're still figuring out not figuring out, we're still like getting the fine tuning of everything, Corson, so I can't share too much, but essentially if you think about it, it's in 2025, right? If you have car problems, it shouldn't be this much mental hassle for you to get fixed and get proper advice, and we're looking to solve that.
For sure, that's really cool. I'm excited to hear more about that when you guys launch that.
Absolutely.
As for the AutoLogic side, do you guys team up with other shops in the area as well to help them get parts and help them get set up a financial plan for their customers as well through the parts side of things, or do you more do that towards the shop?
Yeah. So how people sign up with our network is they'll get an introduction meeting. They'll have their own designated dashboard, which they would use and populate with their information, and from there they could just build a whole work order and including financing and billing all in one platform. So it's really meant to just be a one tool for the shop to use for everything that they do.
Awesome.
Because shop owners, like, they don't want to have too many multiple platforms, and it becomes a headache to maintain everything. So that's what we're looking to solve there as well.
That's super cool. That's awesome. As for goals for the company, what are I guess we kind of spoke on the goals, but what are the really set in goals, and where do you guys really want to see yourself in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so the immediate thing is we're moving into Quebec and Maritimes. So that's a region that we have not been able to service the most effectively. So we're really focusing on that for the next 6 months. Other than that, it's just improve conversions, improve scalability, so having a less friction user experience. Things that we do for on a day-to-day level is, and I really hone in the skill at our RBC is we would do client surveys. We would also watch user sessions and as well to just really understand where people are dropping off and what things people are finding confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And just by making small tweaks here and there, we get an extra 5%, 6% improvement. And that just helps make the whole user journey more cohesive.
For sure.
And the last thing is just, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, then the last thing, just to grow our brand. AutoLogic has been known mostly for a financing company. So we do have some new exciting projects in the pipeline as well. I can't disclose too much, but you will definitely see us more out there and more visually, more visible. No.
That's super cool. Is the main goal for AutoLogic to be more of a SaaS for other shop owners to leverage and use and actually help out their customer base? Is that the big vision for AutoLogic?
I'm not sure if SaaS is the right word, but it's definitely a platform,
Yeah.
right? I do think Uber Eats will probably be the best comparison.
Mm-hmm.
If not, then Shopify, Amazon.
Yeah. Just have that delivery there when they need it and at all times, right?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we want to really make a distinction for our brand is that we want to be proactive and preventative maintenance. We have the technology already where we understand what your car needs from a longevity perspective, but being better with AI and predictive model, we want to offer even more custom tailored experience. So for example, like if you had your struts replaced, for example, but then on your next checkup, we notice that your car's riding a little bit differently in a certain proportion. We want that information to be dynamically reflected in your future roadmap and maintenance. So instead of just doing standard checks here and there, we want it to be a more custom experience for you.
For sure. No, that's awesome. And I've heard of a lot of companies that are really starting to get, a lot of shops, I should say, are starting to turn towards kind of like a digital video to educate their customer on what they replaced and why. So they'll do a video, like a walk around video, and say, hey, your brake pads were low. And they kind of take a photo and video of this is what your brake pads should look like, this is what your brake pads look like, just to give that education to the customer. Is that something that you guys are implementing into Mechanique as well?
Oh, definitely. For us, our approach is more like gamification.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember back in the day when Need for Speed and all these racing games took off, right? That I think that really piqued people's interest when it comes to modification. And when it comes to cars, like there is a lot about personal self-expression that goes into that purchasing decision. And we want to really empower that from a user perspective, right? Like if you're someone that really wants to have everything customized, right? You want to have custom wheels, you want to have a different riding experience, you want to lower your vehicle, you should be empowered to do that and not have additional stress and worry on top. Because typically, if you're not savvy, right? Let's say if you want to lower your vehicle or you want to lift your truck, there is a bit of an anxiety when it comes to like, oh, how is this going to affect the longevity of my vehicle? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have like line of sight and transparency, it makes that decision a lot harder to make.
For sure. And you guys are there to help them out with that process, giving them the options to really do what they want to do with their vehicle, because a lot of people take pride in that, right?
Absolutely.
Take pride in what their vehicle looks like. And some people want to show up in class, right? They want that Mercedes-Benz with the good sounding exhaust that's all blacked out and tinted. But then you'll have some people that don't like to maintain their vehicle as well. So you guys you guys are definitely looking out for the consumer, really looking for what's best, especially for those people that don't really pay attention to the maintenance side or don't even maintain their car, because there's a lot of people that don't have that knowledge that, oh, we need to actually get an oil change every 7,000 or 8,000 kilometers to really extend the life of the vehicle.
Yep.
And it helps out a lot that you guys have this dashboard program to get that knowledge out there. And some people might not listen to it and might not listen to their vehicle, but they're going to go through vehicles a lot faster as well.
Yeah, and this day and age is just, if you think about it, right? Like, on average, if you buy a car, let's say you get if you're really rough on it, right? If you want to buy to own, maybe is 5 years, 10 years for a vehicle, and that's still considered short. Realistically, you could get up to 15 to 20 years,
Yeah.
right? Now, in a total span of your life, let's say you start buying your first car, 25. That's, especially with this price and age and economy, it's rough, right? Which means that by the time you essentially can't drive anymore when you're 70, 80, you might maybe buy 4 or 5 vehicles, right? Maybe 6 vehicles, depending on your need. And not being able to take care of them or have the ability to understand how to maintain them and not have it be such a anxiety inducing experience, that's rough.
For sure. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I do you, this is another question. Do you think manufacturers are trying to build vehicles to end at a certain age so they can keep you coming back and buying more vehicles? Do you think that's what manufacturers are trying to do? Do you think they're trying to extend the quality of vehicles? Because from the late 90s, early 2000s, I think they had some of the most reliable vehicles. And then we turned to the 2010s and the vehicles started really they started really falling apart, or not falling apart, but they didn't last quite as long. But I think we're starting to slowly get back into the day and age where they're making quality vehicles and they're lasting a while. But now we have the technology implemented as well. So do you think manufacturers are going to try to vision more of a longevity side of a vehicle, or do you think they try to cut time that, it's only going to last 10 years so we can get them into that next vehicle sooner?
I mean, it's hard for me to speculate.
Yeah.
I think
I
if
just thought I'd
you,
get your opinion on it.
well, the hot take is like the fighting words are if you bought a recent BMW X3, I think you would probably side with the prior of quality, maybe not the best as before. But I think if you look back at history, right? If we can learn from history, it was that there was a period back in, I think, like the 1960s or something, where when Dodge and DuPont, I think it was Dodge, when DuPont essentially started owning automakers, and because they're a paint company, and technology was not really advancing, in order to sell more cars, they would have limited edition paint and limited edition colors, and that's kind of still the case today. And if we learn from that era, it's not out of the question for manufacturers to take that kind of strategy. And I just think that also with the EVs on the rise and everything being digital now, especially with Apple CarPlay Pro and things like that, a lot of times you change phones not because your hardware is an issue. You just want new software, and unless you pay the money, like Apple's not going to give it to you. And I think that's going to be the same approach when it comes to cars.
For sure. And I think the next 10 years is going to be revolutionary for cars, because look at the past 5 years. We have some crazy implementations, and even this past 6 months with AI has been huge. And imagine what car manufacturers are going to start doing now that all these programs are coming out. I think cars are really going to start becoming technologically more advanced really quick, and it's going to either be a great thing or it's going to be a bad thing. I think a lot of people might love it, and a lot of people might want that original 2000s car with no technology, super plain, because it's more of a driver's experience at that point.
Yeah, I think aftermarket, especially for retro cars, will become a huge thing. I think, from my observation, is that it's going to be really hard for you to buy a naturally aspirated V8 engine. So I think that's going to become a collector's item, because there is something different about driving a full engine car.
Sure.
If you get a chance to drive a V10, it's a completely different kind of animal. So
Never done.
yeah, and everything now these days is turbocharged, right? Like even superchargers are kind of going out of the gate because of fuel economy. That's what the manufacturers are chasing. But I'll tell you that, like, when it comes to, and you probably have more information than I do, is just from my experience working as a car sales guy, I understand that the higher tune vehicles, right? the racing models of the German cars and stuff like that, they just have a lot harder time staying on the road just because the engine's naturally tuned to a higher degree. So it puts more strain on all the parts. And when you have connectors and you have pipes connected to everywhere and you have like 4 turbochargers under the hood, one of them's going to break and it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And you see a lot, they're bringing a lot of turboed vehicles, forced induction vehicles, because they're supposed to be more fuel efficient because it's not relying on the engine to actually bring in that atmospheric air. But then again, you have one more really expensive part that can go wrong really quick.
Yeah, so
And it can ruin a whole engine if it really catastrophically fails.
yeah.
So it's one of those things, right? You're taking a loss on, you're taking a win because you're saving fuel, but you're taking a loss on maintenance purposes because you have one extra part that you really need to look forward. And then same with technology, right? If you didn't have the technology, it's a huge benefit for some things, but then again, you have that technology. If it fails, it can cost a lot of money to really do the diagnosing and go through the wiring diagrams and have to find what's wrong, especially with technicians these days. There's always new technologies coming out, and to stay up to date with everything coming out and having the knowledge on how to fix that is really, it's a lot. You almost need to be learning all day in an office just to stay up with all the new trends and technologies coming into vehicles.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, I like physical buttons in cars. I think, like, when you go too much touchscreen on everything, like, there's just chance to break. Because generally speaking, like, it's your climate control and stuff like that that gets touched the most. So it shouldn't all be on a screen, in my opinion. And when it comes to, like, fuel economy, I don't really buy that. I don't, statistically speaking, yes, they have their numbers. I just think it's more of a regulation when it comes to manufacturing preferences. Because, I mean, if you're out there buying, a super tuned car with 4 turbochargers, they're not looking to save so much money on gas. Like, the car's already over 100, 200,000, right? So the fuel economy from a consumer perspective, I think, is less of an issue.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. The one thing I don't like is the digital dashes. That's what everyone's coming up with, right? You have the digital dash. Oh, I think we should all go back to manual analog dashes because they look so much better.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. I have one final question for you, and that's, where can people find you? Where can people find AutoLogic? Where can people find Mechanique? Websites, social media?
Yeah, so the best place to go will be autologic.ca. That's our website. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, all the usual suspects. If you'd like to connect with me directly, I look at all the social engagement, so feel free to leave us a comment, drop us a DM, then I will get back to you. So I'm just very grateful for your audience and your listeners, because this industry is going to get disrupted, and young people like you who's going to be here during the beginning part of this revolution, and then eventually wherever we end up, whether it's eVTOLs with vertical lift, or we're going to have, like, boat cars these days, cars that could drive in water. Who knows where the future ends. So happy to help in any way. Also to your listeners as well, feel free to reach out, and always happy to have coffee chats and jump on a podcast.
No, that's awesome. If you're looking for any marketing advice, this would probably be the go-to guy. We spoke a little bit before the podcast about marketing and sales and whatnot, and he has tons of knowledge. So if anyone's looking to have a mentor or a coach, this would be the guys to talk to really get your feet in the door in any type of marketing. But I appreciate you taking the time and coming on. I actually have one more question for you. What is your dream vehicle?
Oh, man. Money is not an issue. I think the most beautiful car was LaFerrari, and I had a chance to take a look at them. Ford GT is also extremely beautiful, although I feel that I don't agree with this whole bolted chassis thing. You can't adjust your seat. I feel like that's taking a little too far.
The new Ford GT, or like, so the original, the 2004 edition, 2004, 2005, or the 2022, I think it is.
I mean, they're all pretty, and realistically, it'll be impossible for me to get my hands on one of those, because, like, people who buy them just don't sell them, essentially. Yeah, but I think all of them look fantastic, and I think like the story behind it and the legacy of it is just fantastic. And just from like interior perspective, because we did talk about like fit and finish, I do think Bentleys have like the best interior finish. Although I think that they are obnoxiously expensive and like they tend to break a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's
I just want to talk to you.
you can't go wrong with a Ford GT. I'm a big fan of like the 2004 year. Huge fan of that. They're all nice, but I'm a huge fan of the 2004 year, and it's a good choice. And interiors, there's a ton of good interiors out there. I really like Porsche interiors though. They make some really nice. They make some really nice, just simple interiors in some of their GT3s, and I'm a big fan of them. So.
You like the Alcantara, like the super bucket seat, like hugs everything very tight.
Yeah. If you have a fast car, you need something to hold you there, right? You can't
That's
be slipping
true.
out of the seat.
See, we're at different stages of our life, of course. Like you're a young man, I have lumbar issues, so I need the lumbar support.
But you can get one of them pads off Amazon, the one that goes behind your back. Put
Oh,
in the
that'd be
bucket
great.
seat, you'll be all right.
Yeah. Can I ask you a few questions while we have some
Go
time?
right ahead. Yeah.
I guess my question is, like, tell us about your like origin story, right? Like, were you born in a mechanic shop? I mean, you don't have oil running through your vein. I think briefly we talked about your name and how you came about, but just share with us like how you got started in this game of life. It doesn't have to be specific auto.
Yeah, of course. I started out, I was born in a small town. Actually, crazy story. So when I was born, my mother actually gave birth to me in the washroom of the house that we were living at because I just
Wow.
decided it was my time to come out. They were going to head to the hospital later that day. I guess I didn't want to wait. So my first name is Jed Corson, believe it or not. And Jed came from the people that were there when my mother gave birth. It was my dog Jagger with a J. My grandpa Everett was on the phone with the nurse just after I was born. And his name's Everett. And then my brother Dylan was there and watched everything as well. So that's my
Glad
actual
you're feeling
first name's
better.
Jed Corson. But yeah,
Wow.
I grew up in a small town. Played a lot. I was always a hockey player. But when I was in high school, actually, when I was young, probably 10 years old, I fell in love with watching the shows online like Top Gear and watching these people really build cars into something they've always dreamed of, and for clients and everything else. So I fell in love with those shows, and then I was in high school, probably 14 or 15 years old, and I was like, I'm buying my first car. I don't care. I saved up the money. I worked at the local grocery store, saved up the money, went out, and I bought a 2001 Volkswagen GTI with a VR6. I just wanted something with the VR6. That engine, I fell in love with the sound of it. I fell in love with everything of it. I bought
Nice.
the car, I think, when I was 15. I couldn't even drive yet, so I don't know why I bought the car. But before I even got my G1, my license, decided to tear it apart and turbo the car, because what's the point in a car if you can't drive fast, right? So
Yes.
I guess so I pulled it apart, and that's where my journey began. I had no knowledge about mechanics at all. My dad was a welder and a millwright, so he had a little bit of knowledge. He did a little bit of his own mechanics when he was young, but he wasn't really buried into the automotive world. But I got started on that project. I learned a ton, and I was talking to a bunch of people through forums, asking them questions, getting their help on how to do things. And it took me a long time to really finish that vehicle, but I got it finished up, and it's been a great vehicle. It probably took me 6 years to get it done, 5 years to get it done. Way longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be 6 months, have it done and ready to go. But
Yeah.
right out of high school, I started as a truck and coach technician at a local shop, and I spent 3 or 4 years there. Absolutely loved it up until the end, because I felt like I was losing my passion. Right, I loved working on vehicles, but as soon as I came home, I didn't want to work on vehicles anymore because I was sick of doing it at work. So I decided to quit and decided to start a podcast. and that's where I am now. I started the podcast and love speaking with professionals in the automotive industry, leaders in the automotive industry, and gaining knowledge myself and sharing knowledge, because there's so much knowledge about automotive, about cars, that a lot of people can't find that information. And that's where I want to come in, is help, especially young people like me who was obsessed with cars. I want to help them be able to contact those people that can really give them a hand with something they need help with. Maybe it's a project car, or maybe it's just maybe it's an issue that they're having with their vehicle. And I really want to get that knowledge out there so people can find the people they need. And then I started Kortex Media, which I'm helping automotive companies grow and try to hit their goals. So yeah, that's the story of how I've come now.
Quick hot take. From your perspective, Corson,
Yeah.
what's wrong with the auto industry? What would you fix if you had a magic wand?
Oh, that's a great question.
Feel free to throw any brand under the bus, by the way.
Yeah. If I could fix the automotive world, it's got to be step one. We need to go back to the 60s when cars were actually, maybe even 50s, when cars were being built pristine.
Yeah.
Red chrome, that was the highest version. They were long, they were sexy, they were beautiful cars. We need to go back to that day and age, because cars are being built really cheap now. And you look at the cars from the 50s, from the 60s, from the 70s. They all have so much work and so much, like, just look at the body lines. Look at a Cadillac from them. Look at their grills. They have so much detail in every single part and every single piece that was implemented on that vehicle that they looked beautiful. And then we came to the 2000s, everything looked terrible. Now we're slowly starting to get back into nicer vehicles, but they're almost looking too modern in a way.
Yeah.
We're getting too much in depth with technology, so I think we just need to take it back to that basic, beautiful vehicle with lots of chrome and lots of personalized detail from each manufacturer themselves, because a lot of vehicles are starting to look similar in ways.
Yeah. Is it fair for me to say that you are a fan of resto mod? Is that what they call it, where they take the modern and then put it into the old chassis?
Yeah, so they'll take they'll take an old chassis. They'll take, say, like a Corvette LS7, which is one of the, it would be like a 2018 Corvette. I think they came with the LS7. But they'd take like a newer engine, put it in the old 69 Camaro, so to say. I'm a fan of that. I think it's super cool to have that technology, not the technology, but have the performance parts of a modern day vehicle.
Yeah.
In the shell of an older vehicle. I think it's super cool because you get the feel of driving something that is stuck to the ground, can corner like crazy, and you have that power there.
Yep.
But it has that really, really nice look of the classic muscle car as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of those as well, because like the tragedy of like the old cars is that they look great, but then like when you drive them, you like you feel like you're floating on couch. They're just bouncing around.
Yeah, no, it's that was a great question that you asked, and I think I answered it perfectly. That's the one thing I'd change, is we'd start making vehicles beautiful again, because they used to be, and that's one thing I missed out on.
I think Toyota recently released was it a Land Cruiser or the 4Runner? No, a Land Cruiser, but it's like 1970s bodies or something like that. So it's a like brand new car, but the exterior just looked like the old Land Cruisers.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I was actually had a guy on the podcast. He is he's from, I think, Nova Scotia. And he has spoke to the government, and he's going to start manufacturing vehicles that look similar, not exactly, but they look similar to a 1969 Mustang.
Wow.
But he's going to build them with huge crate motor V8 engines with a couple different options. He's going to build it with all new suspension. He's going to build all custom exhausts that are going to be emission compliant with the government, and all the interior is going to be all up to date with the technology and everything as well. So it's basically a resto mod 69 Mustang, but it's a brand new vehicle that he is going to start building. I think he said he's putting his warehouse together. His warehouse should be done by the end of the year.
Wow.
And I think he's going to start building the prototype not long after. So that's something really cool that's that. And if I didn't reach out to him, I'd never know, right? So
Yeah, that's super exciting.
yeah, that's really cool.
All right. That's all the questions from me. How would you like to close off, Carson?
I'd just like to say thank you for joining me, Simon. That was such a great conversation. You have amazing knowledge, and I hope the audience really digs in and actually listens to what you have to say, because you've been in the industry for quite some time, and you've been in multiple different markets, right? You've been in the Asian market, and now you've been in the North American market, and it's nice to hear both sides of the story. And yeah, if anyone wants knowledge in the marketing industry, sales industry, talk to Simon, because he is a guy that has a ton of knowledge. Even in the if you're up and coming in the automotive space, speak to him, because he has a very good product coming out, and if you want, maybe he can hook you up with a good job. You never know. So
Yeah, always looking for
really
talent.
I really appreciate you taking the time to join me on the call today. That was great.
Thank you, Carson. Pleasure is all mine.
No worries. Awesome. Well, thanks, Simon.